The restaurant shimmered with soft lights and quiet music. Waiters moved smoothly between tables, refilling glasses and serving wine. Laughter and the sound of clinking forks filled the air. Everyone was dressed in their best. Suits, dresses, polished shoes. It was Ava and Jordan's 6th wedding anniversary, and they were celebrating in a private room at one of the city's most expensive restaurants. Ava sat beside Jordan at the head of the long table. She wore a dark green dress that fit her like it was made for. Her hair was done perfectly, her makeup light but beautiful. She smiled politely as people gave toasts, laughed at jokes and told stories about the couple. But behind the smile she felt tired, not just from the night, but from everything. Jordan looked proud, calm and confident. At 38, he was a respected lawyer with a sharp mind and a sharper tongue. People loved him. He had that way of making others feel like he was doing them a favor, just by talking to them. To the world, he was perfect. He tapped his wine glass with a spoon. The sound was light, but it silenced the whole room. "I just want to say a few words," Jordan said, standing. "Thank you all for coming tonight. It means so much to us." Ava smiled and looked up at him, unsure of what he'd say next. "6 years ago, I married the most beautiful woman I had ever seen," he said, turning toward her. She had charm, style, and a way of turning heads wherever she went. Some guests smiled, waiting for the sweet part. "But beauty isn't everything," he continued. "Some people think love means doing everything for someone, even when they bring nothing to the table." Ava froze. She doesn't work, doesn't help with bills, just shops, drinks wine, and sends long texts about how hard her life is. He paused. "To people who aren't her husband." The room went silent. Someone gasped. Jordan's voice stayed calm, even amused. "Let's be honest. It's like having a very expensive painting. You hang it up, you show it off, but deep down, you know it doesn't do anything." Ava's hands were shaking. She tried to stand, but her legs felt heavy. She looked around. No one met her eyes. Jordan raised his glass again. "So here's to 6 years, to hobbies that talk back, and to learning lessons a little too late." That broke her. Without a word, Ava got up and walked quickly out of the room. She locked herself in the bathroom and leaned over the sink. Her reflection stared back, makeup smeared, eyes full of tears. Her breathing was fast, her hands pressed against the cold marble counter. She whispered to the mirror, barely able to speak through her tears. "I gave him everything." 6 years ago, Ava was a paralegal working at a mid-sized law firm. She was smart, organized, and full of dreams. She wanted to go to law school one day, maybe even open her own practice. She loved the feeling of helping people and believed she could do something meaningful with her life. That's when she met Jordan. It was at a legal seminar downtown. He was one of the guest speakers. Sharp suit, confident smile, and already making a name for himself. Ava admired how sure of himself he was. After the event, they talked. He asked questions about her work and her goals. He listened closely, or at least seemed to. He made her feel seen. They started dating not long after. He sent flowers, left voice messages that made her smile, and treated her like she mattered. When he asked her to move in with him, it felt like the next step in a beautiful story. After they got married, things changed, slowly. At first, it was small. Jordan suggested Ava take a break from work to focus on settling into their new home. "You've worked hard enough," he said. "Just enjoy life for a while." Ava agreed. She thought it would only be for a few months. Months turned into years. She didn't apply to law school. She stopped talking about it. Jordan said it wasn't the right time. He was building his practice and needed her support. "We're a team," he told her. "Behind every great man is a woman who believes in him." So Ava became that woman. She planned his meetings, managed their home, took care of his mother when she got sick. She handled everything behind the scenes. Grocery lists, birthday parties, hospital visits. It all fell to her. At first, she told herself this was love. Real love meant sacrifice, right? But over time, the warm husband she married grew distant. He was polite in public, always smiling, always smooth. People admired him, his co-workers, clients, even Ava's own friends. But at home, he was different. He didn't yell, he didn't hit, but his words could cut. He criticized how she cleaned, how she dressed, how she spoke. "You used to be interesting," he once said when she tried to talk about a book she'd read. "Now it's just house stuff and gossip." Ava stopped sharing. She tried harder instead. She cooked his favorite meals, kept the house spotless, even smiled when she didn't feel like it. She believed that if she just loved him enough, he'd come back to her. Lisa, her best friend since college, saw what was happening. "You're disappearing, Ava," Lisa told her over coffee one day. "You don't talk about yourself anymore. What do you even want?" Ava smiled and shrugged. "He just needs me right now. It's a phase. He's under a lot of pressure." Lisa shook her head. "That man is not under pressure. He's using you like a crutch." Ava didn't answer. She didn't want to believe it. Looking back now, she sees it clearly. That night at the anniversary dinner wasn't a surprise. It was the end of a long, slow fall. A fall she didn't even realize she was in. Jordan had been chipping away at her for years. Not loudly, not openly, but bit by bit. A cold look here, a passive comment there. Every time she stood up for herself, he found a way to turn it around, make her feel silly, make her feel small. She gave up her career, her time, her voice. Everything she did was to make his life easier, his name bigger, his world smoother. And now she sat, alone, mascara smudged on her face, her heart broken, and one thought echoing in her mind. She had given everything and lost herself in the process. The morning after the anniversary dinner, Ava woke up with a heavy chest and swollen eyes. She hadn't slept. The words Jordan said in front of everyone kept playing in her head like a broken record. She hadn't left the guest room. She couldn't face him. She didn't even know if he came home. Just before noon, there was a knock on the door. It wasn't Jordan. It was a delivery man holding a large envelope. She signed for it without thinking, her hands still shaking. When she opened it, her heart dropped. Inside were divorce papers. At first, she just stared at them, confused. Then the words started to make sense. Slowly, painfully. Jordan wasn't just filing for divorce. He was suing her. He claimed she caused him emotional distress, that she damaged his public image. And the worst part, he had included screenshots of text messages between Ava and Lisa, long emotional messages where Ava had poured out her pain, her confusion, her sadness. She had never meant for anyone else to see those. They were just her way of staying sane. Now they were being used against her. He twisted her words, her fears, her cries for help, into something cold and harmful, like she had been attacking him all along. He wanted the house. He wanted money. He wanted to destroy her. Ava stood frozen in the middle of the room, holding the papers like they were on fire. She called Kenna, a lawyer and an old friend from her paralegal days. Kenna came over right away. No makeup, wearing sweats, hair still wet from the shower. She grabbed the papers and read them silently. Then her face changed. "This is disgusting," she said. "He's setting you up. He wants to control the story." Ava sat on the couch, arms wrapped around herself. "He took everything I said in confidence," Ava whispered. "Those texts weren't even about him. They were about how I felt." Kenna looked at her. "That's the point. He doesn't care what you meant. He cares about what makes him look bad." Ava's eyes filled with tears. "He said I was nothing last night. And now this." Kenna nodded slowly. "You were never supposed to leave, Ava. You were supposed to stay quiet, stay small. That's what he wanted." Ava looked down at the floor. "I thought the worst part was over." "No," Kenna said. "This isn't the end. It's the beginning. He's making this a fight. We need to fight back." It hit Ava like a wave. This wasn't just about a broken marriage. This wasn't just a man being cruel. This was a plan. Jordan wanted to win, not just in court, but in life. He wanted people to believe he was the victim, that Ava was unstable, selfish, dramatic. He wanted her gone, without support, without a voice. Ava stood up, her hands clenched at her sides. "I won't let him erase me," she said quietly. Kenna nodded. "Good, because this is war." And for the first time in years, Ava wasn't scared. She was angry. A few days after the divorce papers arrived, things got worse. Jordan wasn't just attacking Ava in court. He was trying to destroy her reputation. He started posting on social media. At first, the messages were vague. Quotes about betrayal, trust, and pain. Then came the pictures. Him with friends, smiling, looking strong. And in the captions, words like healing from lies and moving on from someone who never appreciated you. People ate it up. His followers sent him messages of support. "You deserve better," they wrote. "She didn't deserve you." Some of Ava's old friends stopped replying to her texts. Jordan's family, people she'd cooked for, cared for, and even helped through sickness, blocked her number. One of them even posted a long message about protecting your own from toxic people. Her own sister called her and said, "Ava, what did you do to him?" Ava stared at the phone, unable to speak. "What do you mean? I just didn't expect this from you. Jordan's hurting. He says you were unstable, that you lied about him to your friend." Ava felt her throat close. She hung up without saying more. The pain wasn't just coming from Jordan. It was everywhere, from people she thought would stand by her, from voices she trusted. It felt like drowning. But then, something inside her shifted. She stopped crying for hours at a time. She stopped begging people to believe her. Instead, she started thinking, if Jordan was hiding behind lies, what else was he hiding? Ava went into their shared office and started looking through files. She searched emails, old phone records, and bank statements. The more she looked, the more she noticed small things that never made sense. A second bank account she didn't know about. Credit card charges she never made. Trips he said were for work. But the hotel bills showed 2 guests. It took her a week to gather the courage to look deeper into his email. And that's when she found the truth. Camille, Jordan's assistant, hundreds of messages, some sweet, others flirty, some deeply personal. They weren't just working late. They were sharing secrets, jokes, complaints about Ava. Camille had been there for years. Ava had always thought she was quiet, harmless. But Camille knew everything. Ava printed the emails. She saved the texts. She copied every message onto a secure drive. Her hands shook the whole time. When she finally saw Jordan in person, she stood across from him in their living room. She had the folder in her hands. "You were with her," she said, her voice flat. Jordan didn't even pretend. He smirked. "So what? So what?" Ava repeated. "You really thought you mattered to me anymore," he said with a shrug. "You were just part of the picture, comfortable, safe. And Camille, she understood me." Ava's stomach turned. He looked her straight in the eye. "You're finally seeing who I am. Took you long enough." She couldn't breathe. She left the room and locked herself in the bathroom again, just like the night of the party. But this time, she didn't cry. She stared at herself in the mirror for a long time. She felt shame, deep, cold shame, not just from the affair, but from everything, from how much she had given, from how little she had asked for, from how long she had stayed. "I let this happen," she whispered. "I let myself disappear." She decided to see a therapist, not for him, for herself. In her sessions, the truth came out slowly. Ava talked about her childhood. Her father had left when she was 12. He was warm and fun when he was around, but he never stayed. And after he left, she always blamed herself. She learned to chase love, to earn it, to be quiet, helpful, perfect, so no one else would leave. The therapist looked at her kindly. "You've been trying to fix broken men your whole life." Ava nodded. "And losing pieces of myself every time." She left that session feeling lighter, but also clear. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about freedom. She didn't want revenge. She wanted truth. She wanted her life back. She called Kenna and told her everything. The emails, the accounts, the emotional abuse. "We're going to build a real case," Kenna said. "You're not just a victim. You have proof." So, Ava got to work. She documented everything. Dates, conversations, old texts. She wrote down all the ways Jordan had made her feel small, unsafe, trapped. She gathered records of his finances, the affair, even the therapy notes she was allowed to share. Piece by piece, she started putting her life back together. And for the first time in years, she asked herself a question she had never really asked before. What do I want? Not what Jordan wanted, not what anyone else expected, just her. And quietly, through pain and anger, a new strength began to grow. The courtroom was cold, quiet, and full. Reporters, friends, strangers, even some old co-workers were there. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Jordan sat on his side of the room, looking calm and confident in his expensive grey suit. He smiled politely at people. He looked like the perfect man. Smart, charming, successful. Ava sat across from him, wearing a simple navy blue dress. Her hair was pulled back. She didn't smile. She didn't try to hide how tired she was. But she looked steady, ready. The judge entered. The trial began. Jordan's lawyer stood first. He spoke in a loud, clear voice. He painted Jordan as the victim, a loyal husband who had tried everything to save his marriage. He talked about Ava's emotional instability, her hurtful words, and how she had embarrassed a good man. He even read Ava's private texts aloud, ones where she said she felt dead inside. or dreamed of running away. Jordan kept his face serious, like he was truly in pain. The audience listened in silence. Then it was Ava's turn. Kenna stood up, calm, sharp, and angry in all the right ways. We will show that Ava Miller was not unstable. She was emotionally abused for years by a man who only cared about his image. At first, the room didn't change. Some people even looked bored. Then Kenna began showing evidence. First, the financial records, hidden accounts, money sent to Camille, trips that weren't for business. Then came the emails, hundreds between Jordan and Camille, showing years of lies and emotional cheating. And finally, Kenna said, "We have one more piece." Ava took out her phone. She had a recording. It was short, just under 2 minutes, but she had saved it for months. In the recording, Jordan's voice was cruel. "Why do you always act like a victim? You're not depressed. You're dramatic. You just want attention. No wonder nobody takes you seriously." The courtroom went still. You could hear the sound of Ava breathing on the tape. Soft, shaky, like she was trying not to cry. Even the judge looked up. Jordan's face turned red. He looked angry now. No more polite smiles. But it wasn't over. Kenna stood again. "We have one witness left." The doors opened, and Camille walked in. Gasps filled the courtroom. She wore black. Her face was pale. She walked slowly to the witness stand and sat down. She looked at Jordan, then looked away. "He told me he was going to leave Ava," Camille said. "He said she was broken. He said I was his future. I believed him for years." She swallowed. Her voice was shaking. "But he lied to both of us." Jordan stood suddenly. "This is ridiculous," he shouted. "She's just bitter. She wanted me to—" "Mr. Miller," the judge warned, "sit down." Jordan sat, but his hands were shaking. His suit looked too tight now. He looked smaller, less powerful. Camille continued, her voice stronger now. "He used me, just like he used her." Ava didn't look at Jordan once. She didn't need to. She had already seen the truth. And now, so had everyone else. When the court broke for the day, people whispered as Jordan walked out. No more smiles, no more admiration. Ava stood quietly, holding her folder close to her chest. She didn't feel proud. She didn't feel like a winner. She just felt free. A few weeks after the courtroom victory, Ava sat quietly in the judge's office as the final decisions were read aloud. She was awarded full ownership of the house. Jordan would have to pay monthly alimony, and in a rare move, the court demanded he issue a written public apology for his emotional abuse and public defamation. The words should have made her feel powerful, but Ava didn't smile. She just nodded once. The legal part was over, but her real healing had already started long before that. She didn't stay in the house. She packed up her things, left behind the cold furniture, and moved into a small apartment with warm lighting and soft curtains. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like her. She painted the walls herself, picked every cup and spoon with care. For the first time in years, she was choosing things just for her. Then she did something she had dreamed about long ago, something she thought she had lost. She opened a women's support group. It started small, just 5 women in a rented room with folding chairs and coffee in paper cups. They were lawyers, teachers, doctors, business owners. On the outside, they all looked successful, but inside, they carried quiet pain, emotional wounds, years of being silenced. Ava listened to them, and then, one day, she told her story too. She didn't cry. She didn't try to make it sound easier than it was. She just told the truth. That group slowly grew. Word spread. More women came. Some laughed, some cried, some just sat in silence. But they came. Meanwhile, Jordan's life began to crumble. Clients pulled away. His charm didn't work the same anymore. Some news articles were written about the court case. His reputation was no longer clean. People who used to shake his hand now avoided his eyes. Ava didn't follow his news. She wasn't angry anymore, just done. Lisa stayed by her side through everything. One night, after the group meeting, Lisa hugged her tightly and whispered, "You're finally back." Ava smiled, a real smile. "I'm just getting started." Soon after, she got a job at a non-profit legal center. It was work that helped women and children. She wasn't making as much money as she once dreamed of, but it felt right. She felt useful, alive. She spent her days doing what she loved, and her evenings writing, reading, and hosting support group meetings. Her heart still hurt sometimes, but now it also felt full. Then, one afternoon, she saw Jordan. It was outside a coffee shop. He looked thinner, tired. His eyes didn't have that old fire anymore. He walked up to her like he had something important to say. "You ruined me," he said. Ava looked at him for a long moment, not angry, not afraid, just calm. "No," she said softly. "You did that to yourself." He looked like he wanted to say more, but she turned and walked away. She didn't look back. The room was quiet as Ava walked in. 12 women sat in a circle, some with notebooks, some just holding their hands in their laps. The air felt heavy, but open, ready. Ava stood in the middle, holding a folder. Her heart beat fast, but her hands didn't shake. She had done this before, but today was different. Today she wasn't just helping, she was sharing. She looked at each woman, one by one, then she began. "My name is Ava," she said softly, "and I know what it feels like to lose yourself trying to save someone else." The women listened. No one looked away. "I stayed in a marriage where I was slowly disappearing. I believed love meant sacrificing everything. I gave up my job, my voice, my dreams. And in the end, he humiliated me in front of everyone I loved." Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "I stayed because I thought I wasn't enough, but I was wrong. I was always more than enough." A few women wiped their eyes. One woman nodded slowly, like she had been waiting to hear those words for years. Ava closed her folder. "You don't have to stay small to keep someone else comfortable. You matter. Your truth matters." The room stayed quiet, but it was no longer heavy. There was something in the air now, something like hope. Later that night, Ava stood in front of her mirror at home. She looked at her reflection. Older, stronger, softer. She picked up her lipstick and put it on slowly. Red, bold. A small smile formed at the corner of her lips. In her mind, her own voice spoke gently, like a promise to herself. "I thought the worst day of my life was when he humiliated me, but it was actually the day I was reborn." She took one last look in the mirror, then turned off the light. Thank you so much for reading till the end. If this story touched you, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more. See you next time.